Thank you. It's great to be here again at the FSI Symposium. And I just want to throw a shout out to AWS. What a great job they've done bringing us all together. So good job, AWS. Great job, Scott Mullins. We have a great partnership with AWS. They have made a massive investment in our accelerated compute platform. They were the first cloud to put our platform in cloud. And it goes all the way back to what we used to call Voltas, V100s, A100s, and then Hopper. And in fact, AWS was the first to offer a single H100 cluster that could expand up to 20,000 H100s. They called it an ultra cluster. So very active. They have T4s, L4s, 810s, a huge investment so that our platform's available to you in their cloud. So thank you again, AWS. So very quickly, I'm going to introduce you to NVIDIA, because not everybody knows who we are, even though you hear our name 1,000 times a day, and what we do. Talk a little bit about our platform so that you have a good sense of that, and then get into what's happening from our perspective with AI and how banks are using AI to transform, and a couple of examples. And maybe we'll have, if I do this right, we'll have time for a couple questions. Okay. We're headquartered in Santa Clara. We were founded in 1993, Santa Clara, California. We were founded in 1993. Our founders very humbly founded us in a Denny's in San Jose. But there's nothing humble about our mission. Our mission was and is to create the first and best accelerated compute platform that helps you solve problems that were previously unsolvable. Pretty bold mission. And when you think about NVIDIA, just keep in mind that we are growing like super fast. 2 years ago, we were a $27 billion company. Last year, a $60 billion company. I'm sorry, 2 years ago, a $60 billion company. Last year, $130 billion in revenue. And it's just continuing to rip. What's driving that inside of NVIDIA is that we are incredibly innovative. The speed ups we've delivered over the lifetime of the company, over 1 million X, has essentially reduced the marginal cost of compute to zero. We invest in the ecosystem, like partners like AWS. This is what we spend our whole day doing, is working with anybody that's building AI to embed our platform, which is very low level. It's a full stack platform. I'll show it to you, but we want to make your work better. It's not an either or, it's how can we make your work better? And so it's working with companies like AWS to bring to market the very best capabilities to enable you to build, deploy safely, securely, trustworthy AI. The last thing is we have a kind of a unique culture. And just 2 seconds on that, and then I'll get off of NVIDIA. But it's a magnetic culture. It attracts some of the best talent in the industry and retains them. The ability to, as Jensen says, do your life's work is something that you can do at NVIDIA. But we don't have a lot of us. We've doubled every year in revenue, and we've added less than 5% headcount. I think I already talked about the partnership. So this is NVIDIA's accelerated compute platform. Think of it this way. In 1964, IBM announced a 360 architecture that defined compute for the last 6 decades and rode that model, that Moore's Law model, into the ground. And so today, we've built an accelerated compute platform, and it's the only platform of its kind, meaning it's a full stack platform. Think of it as a 3-layer cake. First layer is hardware, base layer. It's GPUs, CPUs, and DPUs, tightly integrated to deliver the best unrivaled performance for applications. The second layer, and we are refreshing that every year. We'll talk more about that. The second layer are libraries that accelerate application workloads and are optimized on the hardware. So think of HPC, think of Monte Carlo simulations. Think of data processing and AI training and AI learning. PayPal's using our data processing and lowered their cost of data processing by 70%, as an example. Think of machine learning and AI in that world. And then think of, and then the last application workload is computer vision. And so think of things like facial recognition applications like medical imaging and autonomous driving. These are great examples of the kinds of applications across industries that we are accelerating. The third layer are application frameworks to help developers build new capabilities. So physical AIs like robotics, weather AIs that more accurately predict weather than the statistical and math models on the market today, and agentic AI, a framework to build agentic AI. We'll talk more about that. In fact, we'll do that right now, I think. Yeah. So inside this platform, we've built what we call NEMO. It's not the cute little goldfish. It stands for neural models. And we've been at this for a long time. NEMO is a suite of microservices. And again, it's low level. We don't build finished products at NVIDIA. I should have mentioned this. Nobody at NVIDIA is paid commission, and nobody takes orders at NVIDIA. We are 100% advisory. So NEMO is a suite of microservices with standard APIs that enable customers, that enable enterprises and partners to build large-scale AIs that are safe, secure, and compliant. So let's talk a little bit about the microservices in that suite. First, and I'll do it really quick. There's a curator, and the curator allows you to build high-quality data sets. We take data sets that are a couple hundred terabytes, and when we're done, it's less than 10 terabytes. That allows you to do more with less. It allows you to have a much higher quality AI. Then there's, in addition to curator, then we have our customizer, which in the AI journey, banks are starting with APIs, with public APIs, and kind of quickly realizing that, maybe quickly is the wrong word, but realizing that they're not going to necessarily use an open AI to connect to their internal workflows and processes. And so then they bring in a model that was built by any of the model builders and start to realize that they aren't able to achieve differentiation and high levels of accuracy using an off-the-shelf model. And so they need to customize that model, and they need to use their proprietary data to customize that model. And that's what Customizer is. It allows you to fine-tune and use all the different techniques to do that. Then you have Evaluator, which simply allows you to assess your model continuously, how it's performing, using LLM as a judge, using benchmarks. There's a number of different metrics that we can provide in Evaluator. Then you have Retriever, which allows you to create quick RAG workflows. And lastly, guardrails to make sure that you have safe, secure, compliant AIs. So that's what NEMO is. Tightly integrated with SageMaker, with EKS, with EC2, so that you have options. And this is what's great about AWS. They're just such a good partner in terms of providing optionality to their customers. So the way we think about building AIs at NVIDIA is you start with this NIM building block, or think of it as a Lego building block, reusable building block. Doesn't stand for net interest margin. It means NVIDIA Inference Microservice. And the NIM is our building block. We take open models that are dropped in the marketplace, and we optimize them, we quantize them, we make sure that they're ready to run at the highest level of performance. We package it in a Kubernetes container along with the inference engine, along with any runtime, and along with any dependencies and the APIs. And this is tightly integrated with EKS, so that a developer, instead of taking a week to get a model ready to deploy, can do this in minutes. And so when a model's dropped, we nim it, we nimify it. That's a new word. And the second thing we do is then use NeMo to take that NIM and with your proprietary data, start to make the model smarter. Again, using chain of thought prompting, using fine tuning, creating what I'll show you in a minute, we call a data flywheel. And that flywheel allows you to continuously improve the performance and accuracy of a model. Once we've done that, and it's reached an acceptable level, we want to then distill that knowledge using NeMo down to a smaller model and try to do the same thing. So that you can train an agent to be very proficient at 1/10 the cost, which I think is going to be something that's very interesting to financial services firms who are always looking for ways to deliver services at a lower cost. So that's NIM and NeMo, but on top you see blueprints. And so we've built a bunch of blueprints. And to us, a blueprint it's simply an opinionated way or view on how to automate a workflow using AI. So taking a bunch of NIMs, aggregating them together, these might all be different agents, to create a workflow, and you have all the tools, the documentation, et cetera, for a developer to use that NIM to build on top of. So this is the building blocks and reusability that we're bringing. We want to give our customers the easy button. So let's talk a little bit about banking. These are some of the more common use cases. The ones that are talked about, that we observe are talked about the most in our briefing center in Santa Clara: code generation, that's no surprise, I'm sure. Personalization, probably no surprise. Fraud detection. But the one that is driving the largest investment in our platform today is alpha research. So kind of a good segue, I think, to the race is on. Banks are racing to adopt agentic, experimenting with agentic. And there are a lot of doubting Thomases in this business who are cautious and doubtful that AI can generate a return on investment. And I thought I'd add today into the discussion that both JP Morgan and BNY's executive team have talked very publicly about the value they're generating with AI. And if you think of that last slide, the value drivers are: does it improve productivity of our people? Does it drive operational efficiency? Or does it create revenue? Or does it do some combination of those? Right? And if you look at JP, they basically have said, we have generated $2 billion in new value last year using AI. And BNY, $500 million in new value generating AI. So let's take that off the table. There's value in, there's return on investment and there's value in leveraging AI. At our GTC conference in San Jose this past March, Capital One joined us with a number of brands. We had 20 brands talking, leading sessions, sharing best practices. And they came in and were kind enough to talk about their journey, starting with analytics, to machine learning, to deep learning, to Gen AI, and now agentic. And one of the things that that I took away, that stayed with me, was this idea that we need to take an open model, and the way he described it was an open weighted model, and pair that with our proprietary data. This is how we're going to train a model to become an agent to do a specific task that's highly differentiated in the marketplace. And they have built an agentic framework that you may have heard of, Chat Concierge. And this framework was a partnership with their auto finance team. This agentic workflow, I should say, is a result of a partnership with their finance auto team. They have built an AI workflow that has a planning agent, an understanding agent. Think about that problem, having an AI understand from a human what they're trying to get, right? So creating an understanding agent, creating a planning agent, creating an explaining agent, and an evaluator agent so that they're working together under the coordination of the planner. And before that model takes action, it explains what it wants to do to the customer and gets approval. So agentic is simply bridging the gap between a Gen AI model that can generate text, generate images, generate context, generate insights, and planning, decision-making, and taking actions. And this is such an interesting and highly differentiated use of AI, and I think probably we're going to see a lot more use cases like it. All right, fraud. You hear about fraud in AI in every meeting, but let's talk about the problem a little bit. It's estimated that credit card fraud will exceed $43 billion by the end of next year. But that's just the fraud. And the false rejections, the legitimate transactions, which are estimated to be about 3% of merchant volume, those are also expected to exceed about $100 billion. And then think about it. If you were the credit card holder in a store and your transaction was wrongly rejected, what's the likelihood that you quit that bank? Probably pretty high. So there's a loss of lifetime value, a loss of TAM that doesn't get factored in. So our argument is the fastest way to make money is to stop losing money. And what we've done is we have worked with the networks for years. And with Amex, we were able to accelerate their workload and help them drive another 6% of false positives out. That's hundreds of millions of dollars. With Bunk, which is also called the Bank of the Free. This is a neobank in Europe, really cool. They did a session at GTC as well. And we're doing this together with AWS. We accelerated their fraud training by 100x. So their models are now training faster, continuously, and more up to date. They reduce false positives by 2.5x, which is a staggering accomplishment when you think about trying to reduce loss. But what we decided to do is work together with AWS, and last fall, we announced a credit card fraud blueprint at Money 2020 in Vegas, built on XGBoost models. The challenge we have is we have a second and a half, 1,500 milliseconds to approve a transaction, roughly. And about 20, 30 of those milliseconds are allocated to a fraud score. So that's not a lot of time. And so anytime we think about introducing new technology, we have to be mindful of we cannot add latency. And so we've embedded in that model, or in that workflow that we released, we've embedded advanced features like graph neural features that make the model smarter, make the workflow work better without adding latency. And what we've done since then is we're going to announce, this is a sneak preview, we're going to announce at Money 2020 Europe in a few weeks, a new deep learning-based workflow that's been nymified. It's a blueprint, and it's based on graph neural net technology. So look for that. It's very exciting. And again, we're very focused on this because we think this is one of those big problems that's needle moving for you. So I mentioned that where the investment is, how am I doing on time? Where the investment is in alpha research. And if you look at what the buy side is doing, if you read the papers and you follow their announcements, they're killing it. I mean, Jane Street doubled their trading revenues last year from 10 billion to 20 billion. They're now bigger than Citi, B of A, and Barclays trading businesses. It's crazy. Buy side is investing heavily and has been for the last couple of years in our platform. And so last year at this event, I was on stage with the CEO of KX, Ashok Reddy. If any of you were here, you might remember. And we presented a vision for how a sell-side bank can build a rivaling capability using the capabilities I'm talking about, NeMo, NIMS, using KX's KDB.ai vector store, which is time series aware and highly optimized on AWS. And so that vision today, if we fast forward today, is now a blueprint. We have blueprinted it, and we are in POCs with a number of global banks. The use cases, so the AI-powered use cases could be things like powering a research assistant or powering a relationship manager, but much way beyond just summarizing and answering questions that are in research reports. We're talking about being able to make those people and the staff behind them more productive, and then improve time series forecasting and improve the alpha signal detection. One of the banks we're working with told us that they think this will accelerate signal detection by 6x. You can see the quote. This is a public quote, but from enhancing trading performance and operational optimization, partnering with NVIDIA and KX, we see agentic AI as a transformational shift, one that can position us to deliver even greater value for our clients. That's not the whole quote, but you get the point. So this is real, it exists, and if you look at the way we're approaching this, it's how can we create, using the Lego blocks I talked about, reusability, and create an easy button for you to get to market quickly. I thought what I would do in the spirit of advising is share. These are some of the banking sessions, and we've got a little bit of a margin issue, but these are some of the brands that we're teaching out at GTC. And those sessions are on GTC on demand. And they're sharing incredible knowledge on what they've learned and how they're going about building AIs in their organization, various different things. I mean, if you look at the Capital One, AI at scale, lessons from agentic AI adoption, or BNP Paribas, build an operational AI platform for banking. These are incredible lessons learned that are available for free. And I thought I'd curate for you from an agentic AI perspective. These were sessions given by some of the world's deepest and most knowledgeable experts in agentic. Some of them from NVIDIA, Bartley Richardson, Adel Halleck, Rama. These guys are black belts. But you also see Meta, Visa. So a lot of contribution from the industry. And again, these are available. They're on demand, and they're for you. Okay, lastly, kind of a call to action. If you want to learn more about the credit card blueprint, or more about the global markets AI-powered blueprint, or more about what we're doing around agentic, get a meeting. AWS and NVIDIA together. We'll come out and meet with you. We are looking always for interesting POCs, and we have lots of different ways to do that, where we can the POC for global markets we can do in under a week, the same thing with the credit card workflow. So very quick, not intrusive, an ability for you to very quickly assess, is this going to help our business? Well, thank you. You've been very attentive. I appreciate it. Great to be here.